Welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm your host, Ian Carlos Crawford, and joining me is my lovely co-host, my best friend, poet, writer, doctor,
Kimberly and Southwick. And we have two wonderful guests this evening. We have, not that you know it's evening, we have Spider-Man author and podcaster,
Preeti Chhibber. Hello.
Hi. And we have reporter for Decider.
Hi, Brett White. What's up?
Hi, everyone.
Yo.
So we have two very, you're both well-versed in Marvel. You partake in a lot of Marvel content. Yeah, knowledgeable. What are words, right? We're here to talk about episode 3 of Hawkeye. Kim and I actually, we watched it together today. We were like we started at the same time.
Aww.
We were like texting. I can't tell if I liked this episode better because I wasn't rushed, because last week I came straight from work, watched both episodes, and then literally had 2 minutes to read Brett's recap and then start recording. But I would be curious what Brett and Preeti, what you folks thought of this episode compared to the first two.
So
Preeti?
I have found that I'm finding the show slow. Like I didn't not like I'm not enjoying it, but it's also I don't love it. Like there are points where I'm like, why is this scene so long? Why are they taking so much time for these things? Like I loved the beginning of this week so much. I even like cried a little bit. But
I did too.
Right. It was such a wonderful introduction. But I feel like the stuff with like Clint and Kate is so bogged down by it feels self-indulgent. Like I don't even know.
All right. Brett, how'd you feel?
I thought this was the best episode of the 3.
Yeah.
Almost by far, because I thought that it moved a lot speedier. And I felt like this was the week that the show became the show that I have been waiting for it to be, which is ridiculous because this is only week 2.
Right.
So, but it's like weird because it's like we're now halfway through the season because it's all so bizarre. But yeah, the car chase thing was so much fun. I thought that like their banter during the battle was so much fun, and I thought that her relaying the messages from his kid because he couldn't hear was really sweet, and the dog didn't eat anything that could potentially kill him. So because dogs should not eat pizza.
No, it's true.
Jesus Christ.
I did love that moment where she's like trying to come up with the names and she's like this and like when she says pizza dog, you're of course like, yes, pizza dog.
And he gives that little
It
smile.
is weird that like before the Beatles Get Back thing, it says like warning smoking in this documentary, and it's like, why isn't there a warning for Hawkeye that's like dogs can't eat onions or tomatoes or
there should actually can I like slight tangent, but I used to work for a children's publisher, and we had a picture book that was about like being friends with your dog and like loving your dog, and there was an illustration of someone kissing their dog, and we had to put a warning on the book. That was like, don't kiss your dog on the mouth.
oh,
we got complaints.
Oh my god!
I mean, it's a hot topic, as The Circle season 3 taught us on Netflix. Everyone remembers
Lord.
that.
Yeah, I mean, Jim, you like this episode, right?
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I feel like our two guests for the first 2 episodes really loved the series, so I'm interested that we have 2 people that are a little bit more lukewarm about the series as a whole. So that's thus far. So that's interesting. But yeah, I really liked this episode. I felt like it was a good follow-up to the first 2, and I mean, batter number 3's got to be the guy that gets someone on base if the first 2 haven't, so the 4th batter can come in and hit them home. Anyway, that's how I think about the order of things. Baseball.
How dare you make a sports reference on my very gay podcast?
I'm sure there's someone who listens to sports things in the world. Anyway, so the 3rd episode has to be good or you're going to lose people is my point. So I feel like it did the job.
Yeah, because Brett, I do agree with you. I still enjoyed those first 2 episodes, but they did feel like a little bit of a slog.
It felt a bit like how, the Netflix Marvel shows. Yeah. I mean, it's very fitting, and we're definitely going to get into it. But like those first episodes reminded me the most of Daredevil. I was like, this feels a lot like Daredevil, which I love Daredevil, the character and also the show. I love them. But it was still like, you're going to wait 13 episodes to see him wear a fucking suit.
Yes.
You're not wrong.
That slow buildup kind of can drive me nuts sometimes. And like, I know that you feel the same way, Brett. Like, we're saying this as people who did love that Daredevil show, but still, like, come on.
Yeah, right? I mean, that show skated by so much on just fantastic performances, that I was like, I will watch an entire hour of Karen Page doing a one-on-one with the Kingpin, and like, like, God, I love it. Anyway. But yeah, Kingpin's awesome, and I can't wait to see Vincent D'Onofrio in the MCU. I want to see him grab Tom Holland by the head and bang him into a table.
Okay, it's happening, right? It has to. Like, how do you first of all, I want Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio to be in the MCU so badly.
Yes, God, that's all I want.
They deserve it so badly. But it has to happen, right?
And Kristen Ritter. And Kristen Ritter. I will throw her there too.
Yeah.
I honestly, I do think the best thing about those Netflix shows is the casting. I even say Finn Jones is a good Iron Fist. They just wrote him badly because if you watch Finn Jones in Interview, he is a dumbass white boy, which is what Danny Rand is.
I feel like Iron Fist, though, is just can't.
I feel like Iron Fist, it did feel, I'm not sure because I had no context for the actor. I couldn't tell what it was because the show itself felt very phoned in.
Yeah, very bad.
And
season 2 was better.
I didn't watch season 2. I did think is this because it's at the end? But then Punisher season 1 came out after that, didn't it?
Yeah. Punisher was after Defenders.
I'm in Punisher season 1, and hands up, Punisher is not a character I've ever cared about. But John Bernthal is so good, and I loved that season. I didn't watch season 2, but I loved season 1 of Punisher. And that man is gorgeous. He came into my Barnes & Noble when I was working in Brooklyn when they were filming in a Punisher's jacket. I think I've told you this story before 85 times, Brett.
Wait, and what? Was this before or after he was Punisher?
It was while they were filming. It was after Daredevil, but during Punisher.
That seems like I want to be noticed. I am wearing the Punisher.
He literally, his jacket said Punisher Crew. It was zipped halfway down and he had no shirt on underneath. And I was
my God.
Oh my goodness.
Is this a prank? Am I on a show? What is this? And he called me sir. He was very polite. And he was like, hey, sir, could you help me? I'm looking for some Daredevil graphic novels. And I was like, what?
Just immediate throwing up. I
was like, this has to be a joke. What'd you say, Kim?
You want Dudavla?
Right. I was just like, yeah. And then so I walked him over and I was like, we don't really have a lot of Daredevil. And I was like, but I just want to say, I think your Punisher is fantastic. And he shook my hand and was like, thank you so much. That means so much to me, sir. And then we talked about an author that we had both read, and he was with his son. And then on the way out, he came over and shook my hand and thanked me for all the help.
Aw, that's nice.
Yeah.
Lovely.
He's a big, handsome man who's just very polite.
Kind.
Yeah.
That sounds way better than the time I helped M. Night Shyamalan at Barnes & Noble Deptford.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, all the other celebrity encounters I had at Barnes & Noble were pretty I run Tina Fey up and we said 2 words to each other, but I was ecstatic, but she really talked to me. But
And I literally missed everybody at the Strand. The only person that I ever had an interaction with was Paul Giamatti, and my interaction was he was creepy. So
well, right. But okay, so let's get into this opening because I think I'm a hard sell usually on we're getting a flashback to a I don't know, but it worked. I thought
it worked.
This. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Preeti, talk about it, Preeti.
It was so good. I feel like centering Echo in this moment was really smart because maybe one thing that is rough with the Hawkeye show is they have to contend with Ronan, right? Ronan was, in my opinion, just awful optics for Endgame. Just awful, right? It was hard to watch. It was hard to stomach. And they have to contend with that. And so centering Echo in this moment was really lovely because you get to see the sort of look at what you did, Clint. Look at what you did. And they did it in, I thought, a really thoughtful way. And there's a line that her father says to her, and I wish I'd written down the actor's name because I recognize him and I love him in everything he's ever been in. But he says you have to jump between two worlds, which will speak to many, many people, I think, in terms of identity. And it was just a really smart, quick way to talk about code switching and reference code switching without being sanctimonious and without all of this other baggage that comes along with that. I really loved it. And I definitely did cry by the end of that first scene.
Yeah. Yeah, Kim and I were texting, and we were both just like, I was like, I'm tearing up, and she's like, I'm crying, and I was like, I'm crying too.
Well, and it comes at a good time too, because like, when did they announce the Echo show like simultaneous with the first? So it's like, yeah, you got to prove it that we can, that she deserves it, that she's going to be able to hold it down. And I think after this episode, it's like, for this being her first ever, like, at least filmed acting thing.
Oh,
ever?
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Holy shit.
This is her first
So
IMDb
good.
credit. And that is like, oh yeah, that's great. Like she absolutely crushed it. Just a really high bar of difficulty, because it's like she's like the most high profile like Native American representation in the MCU, I think.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
And then it's just really great. I am really excited for her, and I'm really excited for the Echo show, because Kingpin is 100% going to be the co-lead of that show.
Like, absolutely.
This is where I start screaming about
My
Kingpin.
best friend, Leland Owlsley.
So we get the flashback, and you're right, Preeti, that the guy who plays the dad is also very good. Like, it's hard to like sell a like catch up on this character in 8 minutes and have it be both tender and emotional and have everyone like both the like a really good father-daughter dynamic in like this like quick flashback, but they really achieved it. And like I'm a sucker for a story like this, where it's like, oh, the dad might have been a villain and like a crime, like in cahoots with the crime boss, but like he was still a good dad. Like I'm a sucker for something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that one of the things that made it so great was that we know that she's a villain. Right. You know what I mean? Like, and we're still like literally crying over her backstory.
Right.
And I thought the little girl's acting was excellent as well.
Oh, I loved her.
Agreed.
Yes.
She was so good.
And that can also be hard to do, like getting also a good child actor.
Yes.
I was thoroughly impressed.
Yeah. And so we get the scene of the dad saying uncle, and like, I will say, last night on Facebook, I saw a friend had posted, like, so glad, I'm not going to spoil it, but put an emoji of a crown and an emoji of a tack. And I was like, oh, Kingpin in this episode? He can't be in this episode. And then he but, like, I even read your article, Brett, and, like, right, it was, like, very obvious that was Vincent D'Onofrio, just, like, the, like, whatever noise he made. That was
the laugh is, like, that is Vincent D'Onofrio. Like, it is so... So, like, I also hate being this person, because I get really annoyed at all the people who get, like, millions of views on YouTube for, like, here's how the X-Men have just been announced for Phase 4. When it's like, when I won't click on it's like, it's 10 minutes long, 2 million views, and it's literally the X-Men. And I'm like, I know there's no news. How did they fill up 10 minutes? But I will not give them the click. And I hated, like, the whole Mephisto thing with WandaVision, and, like, I don't know what it was with Loki and Falcon and Winter Soldier. Similar shit problem, but yeah. like the whole like but like this is one of those Ronan killed everyone at Fat Man Auto Repair.
Right.
The name of that shop at the beginning that Ronan slaughters is Fat Man Auto Repair. And yeah, I'm looking at my article I wrote with all my reasons why it's definitely and it's like, the Kingpin is inextricably tied to Echo's origin, because Kingpin is her essentially, like, air quote, adoptive father. He kills her dad and then takes her and ships her off to that school for the deaf, which the great little girl actor wanted to go to.
No,
like they've set it all up so well that if it ends up being Hammerhead or the Owl, I might be done, because this is like. It's so clear that if it is a red herring, that is
I do feel like it's gonna make you as angry as I was with the Pietro reveal in WandaVision, because I will be angry for the rest of my life until they fix
Frank
it.
Boners.
I can't even.
I thought it was well, yeah, because I'm not emotionally invested.
I'm emotionally invested. I've been mad for 7 years.
Preeti, I don't know that we ever discussed that, but I felt the same fucking way, and I loved WandaVision, but for me, that felt cheap.
Yeah, I'm still so mad about it.
But yeah, so like it totally has to be Kingpin. The thing I'm wondering what you guys think. Do we think that will just be left there until the Echo show, or do we think he will show up in Hawkeye?
Well, so there's kind of emerged this pattern with all these shows. Like Agatha Harkness was revealed in like the penultimate episode, or like towards the very end.
Right.
We found out who the power broker really was in the season finale of Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I'm still angry about that. Justice for Sharon Carter. And we got Kang in the season finale of Loki. So part of me is kind of wondering, like they've kind of set up this precedent of we're going to give you a surprise villain reveal in the end. So hopefully the last episode is Hawkeye and Kate versus Kingpin, or it's like he's revealed. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like the Hawkeye feels like a very different show to me. Like I really kind of wish that this had been a movie. Honestly, not like a theater movie, like a Disney Plus movie. And not to like knock it. I just think it would have been a really fun holiday movie if they had put it out.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Like
that sounds so good.
I think it would have been so good. And so I feel it feels a little bit like damned if you do, damned if you don't, because maybe that's where I'm getting a little frustrated too, because I want like a Hawkeye show. And it's splitting off to set up other stuff, it feels like already.
So would they credit the actor already in IMDb if he were on the show? ?
It depends on if they, because the IMDb is like very like your agent or like your team updates it. So,
and like Disney, I'm sure Disney has the strictest contracts about any of that shit. Okay. But Kim, like I want to ask you,
uncredited chuckle.
Yeah, I want to ask you, Kim, like, is all of this taking away from you? Because I know, like, you are not like a huge Marvel. Like, you are new to like
stuff,
the MCU,
but I don't know stuff.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't take away from the show at all to not know what y'all are talking about.
Okay, I was wondering. I also don't want to like completely alienate you as we're all like Kingpin, and you're like, whom?
Well, you texted me and said that, and I was like, that's a villain, right?
Yeah.
He's a complicated man, okay?
Yeah, he likes to crush skulls in his giant hands.
I cannot wait. Like, picturing Vincent D'Onofrio just terrorizing Tom Holland for some reason just delights me.
I like legit, I think after Far From Home, like wrote something, I want to say it was like for Sci-Fi, where I was like, please bring Kingpin into this. Please.
Right?
Because he started as a Spider-Man villain. And it wasn't until Frank Miller brought him into Daredevil. And I'm just like, their energies are so drastically different that I just...
good.
I mean, it's very Michael Keaton and Tom Holland. Like, it's that same, but even more so because Vincent D'Onofrio is huge.
Yeah. And like, that would make like the imagery of him like, you know, holding up to like tiny Tom Holland and like gigantic, like that would be a very good comic book-y image, right?
And
like,
especially if Daredevil swings in.
Yes, and for once you'd have a villain that you're not totally on this. Like, I feel like with the Tom Holland's villains and the Spidey movies, you're like, okay, you didn't do this the right way, but you're not wrong. Like, you're not incorrect in where you started. Whereas with like Kingpin, you're like, oh no, you're terrifying and also do very bad things. Like, there's not.
Yeah, I love him. I love watching him, but I'm also like, you're a criminal through and through. Like, but I want 100%. To see you on screen at all times.
So another thing that I wanted to point out. So with this Echo backstory, and I mean, you wrote about this, Brett, too, but I was very like, holy shit, this series so far has felt like one of the most like seen. I mean, you know, some of it's, last time I said this, someone was like, no, there were 3 stripes on on Sam's Captain America costume, not 4 like in the comics.
No thank you to that person.
So I will say it's not completely 1 for 1, but it feels almost the most closest to like bringing the comic book stuff to life. I mean, Echo's not in the Hawkeye Matt Fraction, like that's not she's in Daredevil, but like her backstory was still kind of the same, right?
Well, and also the fact that what I find super fascinating is like, yeah, she wasn't in the Matt Fraction run, but when you look at like, well, the Matt Fraction run dealt with so much of Hawkeye's hearing loss, and Echo mirrors that. But then also when you realize, oh yeah, Ronin in the comics, that was Echo's identity. Echo came up with the Ronin identity, and then Hawkeye wore it second. And so it is really interesting how they have brought that into the MCU. Like, Echo still has a very strong tie to Ronin, but it is completely flipped. Like, but it's still there. And I think that's super interesting.
Yeah. So, but Kim, you as someone who's like doesn't have all the like nerd backstory that like the three of us are, you still did enjoy that opening though, right?
Oh no, yeah. I mean, like I said, it was hugely emotional. I think it's like, it's to have all of this knowledge, I think drives you all crazy a lot of
yes.
times.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to worry if there were 3 stripes or 4 stripes, like I can just sit back and enjoy the thing. And I've definitely this is tangential, but I've been watching the Babysitter's Club.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so
good. But I'm like, that was one of the things that like got me to love reading when I was younger. So, I mean, I can imagine what it's like to be like, oh, okay, like I know this story. Let's see what they're going to do with it here. You know what I mean? And like, there is a little bit of like, you don't want them to ruin something you love, and you want them to keep it close to the original. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like you're interested to see what they're going to do with it. Yeah. So I think there's a struggle that y'all are like, well, it's not the same, but like, okay, is it okay that they've done this? That I don't have to deal with.
I wonder if like, because I also think like Kate Bishop, how Haley Steinfeld is playing her is kind of like exactly how I've always pictured Kate Bishop. So like, they're very close, and I wonder if they're doing that because Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye is so far from Hawkeye in the comics to me.
I mean, I feel like it was just bad luck, right? Like Jeremy Renner appeared as Hawkeye just before the Fraction Hawkeye comic dropped.
Yeah, the Fraction run came out because he was like Avengers, like it tied into that, and then like Fraction redefined his personality as just completely different, and then Joss Whedon was like, we need to give him a wife and kids.
Let's not even. But it was this thing, right, where they, after the fact, had to try to go back and do what they could to get him closer to this wildly popular version of the character. And so now, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Preeti. Yeah, sorry.
No. It's just that now we're here, and you see hints of it in the Hawkeye in the series, and I do like it, although I don't know that Jeremy Renner quite captures what Fraction was able to do in the comics. Not for his fault or anything. I think it's just like it would be weird if the character was all of a sudden that.
That was
I was trying to think of who would play that. I said Andy Samberg when I was talking to my therapist about this on Monday, because my therapist asked me about Marvel stuff. Okay. But like Andy Samberg in Brooklyn Nine-Nine has more of the energy of Matt Fraction's Hawkeye.
A little bit, but he's also got you know who I'm going to say, and it's somebody who is up for the role, and this is going to be, I don't know. I think Jensen Ackles could have done it.
Okay.
I do.
I mean,
I do.
I wouldn't be opposed to that. I don't think that's completely incorrect.
I know. I'm aware of what I know. But as someone who spent a decade and a half of their lives watching this man on television, I think he would have done the job admirably of Fraction's Hawkeye.
And I was worried going into this that they would just suddenly try to make him super charming, and that it would have been like, what are we doing here? Because, and I know, all 3 of you disagree with me. That was my biggest issue with Thor Ragnarok, is that suddenly,
oh my goodness,
everyone was like silly and dumb, and it was like, but these characters weren't like this in any other movie.
Thor was like that in the first 2 movies.
Thor was like that.
He took himself more seriously
in the first one.
Like a dum-dum, but he took himself seriously, I felt.
But he's chilled.
He's chilled out. He's gone through a lot, okay?
He went through that weird vision pool.
That vision pool did it.
Man, he saw the Infinity Stones and he was like, I've got to chill.
I need to.
Things are crazy, man. The universe, man, it just blew my mind.
All right. Okay, wait. I have a question, though. So, like, we were talking about how, Brett, you were saying that Haley Stanfield's interpretation of this character is very on like, sort of spot on for how you envisioned Kate. I find myself getting somewhat frustrated with it. And,
oh, really?
And I think, and it's, again, not any fault to Haley Stanfield, who I enjoy a lot as an actress. I think it's because you don't have the balance of the Fraction Hawkeye with the Fraction Kate.
Oh.
And so I'm like, it feels like you're making her, she's super talented, obviously, as an archer, but now for 3 episodes, I've watched her mess up and make things worse. And I'm like, can we just pull back just like a little bit on it? Just like the teeny tiniest bit on it.
I was worried on the bridge that she was going to mess up again. And I was like, please don't mess up. I do. And Brett, I'm wondering if, because Kim, we already talked about this. Brett, I'm wondering if she feels very Buffy to me. And I think that's why I love her so much.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Like when she crashes through that window and is like, oops. I was like, God, this is Buffy season 4. Like, this is what happens when she's like, the vampire stole her shit and she falls through. And it's like that superhero charm. But like, also, one could say, well, Buffy was very Spider-Man, which is also true. And I feel like, I don't know, that's like what I think of. And that's why I love her, because she's like, you're right, Preeti, they do ever mess up, but she's still like very good.
Well, and it's also, I mean, she's new to this.
Yeah, and she's
which
new
I think
to
which is also the difference between, not to keep comparing it to the comic.
I know, and we keep doing it.
But it's like in the comic book, you're dealing with a Hawkeye that is more like a flippant and a walking disaster, and a Kate Bishop who has been doing this for a while and has also been the Hawkeye of the Marvel Universe for a while, because Clint was dead for a long time.
Right.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Because in the comics, they are much more evenly suited, and here I'm having a hard time sort of accepting the reluctant mentor-teacher relationship, because I kind of miss that Kate Bishop who knows her shit and knows what she's doing, and maybe that's where it's coming from.
It's got to be that, because the mentor, mentee thing is just super obvious, and I think it's like incredibly well done. And not knowing her character, I think that the dialogue, like the way they've written her and her acting, just like translate like really, really well. And even in contrast and like in juxtaposition with Hawkeye's character, especially in this episode, with the next scene that we're about to talk about after the opening title, for sure, when they're after we meet Echo and she crushes that hearing aid. I feel like the relationship, like when he can't hear her 100%, is just so well done between the two of them.
I loved all of that, of like they were just communicating. Hey, we're communicating really well.
Right.
Yeah.
It's communicating in air quotes, though, kind of.
But like that entire car chase scene, I think, is one of the best car chases.
I agree with you.
It is, and the fact that like it is, again, not to keep doing this, but it is so pulled from Hawkeye issue number 3, and this is episode 3, and going back to Ian's point of like this feeling so pulled from the comics, like it's the same, it's like the same kind of car, the Dodge Challenger. They use I counted, like they use 6 of the same trick arrows that are used in that issue are used in this one, and it's just like it's so fun. It's like little fun Easter.
Question: is there the whole scene after the title credits thing happens starts in that like abandoned toy store?
KB Toys
comic, because I absolutely loved that setting for their hideout.
It wasn't. No.
That's great.
I don't know if we ever saw the tracksuit Draculas, as they're called in the comics.
I love them so much. That was like top tier for me in the first 2 episodes when they showed up, and like, bro.
The conversation where Kate's like helping the guy out in this episode, where he's like, I got Imagine Dragons tickets.
That was great.
It's like, but hey, you don't have to go see Imagine Dragons. I like Imagine Dragons. It's really good.
And so I enjoyed this. I enjoyed the abandoned KB Toy like warehouse fight scene. I think that it's weird that like a good 20 minutes of this 37-minute episode are just like chase fight scenes, but they were
thank God.
But they're
enjoyable.
so well done, right? Like, so I will say, okay, not to keep bringing it back to this, but I thought of one more thing.
Okay.
You know what the mentorship, I can't believe I'm about to say this because I actually don't think this the way I'm saying it, but the mentorship and how they represented Spidey and Tony in the first Spider-Man movie, where Spider-Man is allowed to succeed and allowed to like mess up outside of Tony as well as within the mentorship. I want more of that for Kate. That's what I want.
Yeah, okay.
I would have liked for her like to get out of that tape on her own without Clint's help, and then she can still mess up. I need more moments of her like having these brief moments of success outside of Clint's intervention.
She did have that really cool floor sweep kick
thing.
She did, but grabbed onto the pole.
They didn't focus on it enough, I thought. Like, again, I think all of it, though, is in the context of, like, Clint cut her tape because she couldn't figure out how to do it. That's where it's like this little itch that's just, like, in my brain. And I'm like, just give her something, and I'm looking forward to it. But, yes, I agree with you. The action scenes are amazing.
Yeah, like, these felt kind of like Daredevil fight
very
scenes.
Much.
I mean, not as like brutal or violent, but like in choreography and execution, you know.
And I don't love a fight sequence. I know. But this one, I think it's because it went so many different places. It really kept my attention. It wasn't. I think one of the things that bores me about them is when they're kind of all in the same place.
Oh yeah.
I get really bored a lot more easily than I think other people do. But because, you know, it starts with that scene where she's trying to help the guy, and then we go and we have Echo come in, and then it turns into the fight scene, and then he's got his arrows, which is different than them just fighting, and then she's also in it. I mean, suddenly Kate's jumped in it too. And then now they're outside of the toy store. You know what I mean? Like, that was
they're
really
in a car, and then
Wait.
And I also really liked the so even pulling so much from the comics, like I know I said they use like 6 of the same arrows. They use a different one for the last one, that Pimtech arrow. And it's like, and that's a cool way of both honoring the comics, but making sure that weirdos like me who know the comics are still going to be surprised. And I literally was like, oh my God, with that giant arrow.
I was very thrilled by that scene. That was pretty awesome.
I was severely gooped. I was like, "Oh my God, it got so big!" I loved it. Yeah.
Can I wait? So can we? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well,
no, go ahead.
I wanted to ask, can we rewind for a second because I want to talk about their first confrontation with Echo, like the conversation they have.
Yes,
because it feels very.
I thought it was so well done.
I thought it was well done, but so Clint said, "No, not but," and this is why I hate it. No, but
okay.
Clint said. So she asks like who's Ronan, and you know he said they're dead. Black Widow killed them, and I actually really liked that Echo didn't immediately believe him because she has such a strong stake in this character. Like it didn't feel forced or fake or convenient to me. Like of course Clint's gonna be like, yeah, that guy's dead because he fully regrets being Ronan.
Yeah, I love a dead person killed the dead person. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. That helps me. I believe that.
I believe that. And she was very good.
Yeah.
Like I really liked, like you could see the intensity when she's signing, and like, you know, I think I texted Kim this when we were watching it. I was like, you know what? I understand. Take out Clint Barton, just leave Kate Bishop, please.
It's like you see, it's hard though, because I'm like, I see the tragedy happening and you're so sad for it. But I also am excited to watch it happen and see where she ends up going.
Yeah. I also thought, like, again, for an actress that this is her first anything, in that scene, she's intimidating. She's intimidating the Avenger that we've watched on television for 10 years. And when she says, like, you shouldn't rely on technology, like, what are you doing? Like, it's like, I really felt like, oh my God, like, Echo has all the power in this situation. And it's such a good Alakwa Cox. I'm so happy for you.
So they have that fight scene. I did really like the fight scene in the KB Toys. They leave, and I even texted Jim. I was like, wait, the car he said no to, that's the car they drive in the comics. And, and you wrote this in your article, Brett, I really did like they had her doing the shooting of the arrows rather than him.
Mhm.
Like, I think
they flipped it.
it was like the some of the flipping they do is very suited for her, mostly because she's a new character and we know Jeremy Renner, so it's like like we know his Hawkeye.
Yeah.
You know, like her being the one to save Pizza Dog and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's cool that they by flipping them, they gave us an action sequence where we got to see how good of an archer Kate Bishop is. And I like that at the end, Hawkeye, when they go to the subway, he's like, you really are, you are a really good archer. And she is.
Yeah.
So I like that because if they had her driving, then we would have just seen her driving, and that would have been, I don't know. Like we know Hawkeye's a good archer. We don't need to see
it. We don't need to see it.
We're good.
Some things I loved in that scene. I like when he's like, definitely don't use this. And she's like, okay, all right. You don't have to say definitely like that. Like, I love her, like, anxiety over her, like, she is stressed, but she's still good. But, like, she is understandably, like, stressed out by the situation, as would any of us be.
I loved wait, you have 4 more arrows more dangerous than that? Yeah. The big explosion arrow.
I just liked that he was like, there's no such thing as trick arrows an episode ago.
Right.
Well, so, and here's the Play-Doh putty arrow.
Yeah.
the useless USB arrow. I mean,
amazing.
In this scene particularly, because I was kind of like, she's like a USB arrow, and she's and it has a good effect because the guy's expecting it to do something, and it does literally nothing.
So that has to be a shout out to what if, right? Like with the second to last episode of What If.
Is there a USB arrow sounded familiar?
That USB arrow is the thing that eventually gets Ultron.
Oh, right. Oh, wow. That's fun.
I didn't make it that far. I just finished episode 3 of What If the other day.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no. I didn't watch it. I didn't watch the last 2 episodes. I liked it.
Oh my gosh.
I was like,
the last 2 episodes are excellent. And
so much fun. Such a fun.
They're like what the show, I think they epitomize what the show built to and could be.
Okay.
Which is, but the USB arrow plays a pretty significant part in the last 2 episodes.
It's fun.
Then that has to be a reference
right?
if that's a thing they used. Yeah. And so they're on the bridge. They do more arrows.
They just keep coming, those cars. Oh my God. Every time I think that all right, there's 1 card on it. It's like, now there's 4 more.
Yeah.
And they have to literally like run away from them. Like they can't beat them.
No.
Yeah.
That technique they used in the car, though, we keep bringing up Daredevil. And I think that technique with the camera spinning in the car while the car is spinning externally. So we're getting all these different perspectives brings back the feeling of watching that hallway scene in the first season.
Yeah.
Right?
I can see that.
Well, because a lot of the car chase was one shot. Like for a lot of it was one shot. Like maybe like it was like 1 minute continuous. But I noticed and I was like, oh, this is really cool.
Mm-hmm. It was very neat.
And I liked when he like has to go backwards. He goes through the Christmas tree lot, and people are like freaking out, and she's like, "Merry Christmas!" Like I was just very charmed by her.
Well, and even the storytelling of like suction cup arrow. What does that do? And then that being the thing that like saves him on the subway is like, oh, that's fun. It's a fun.
That's great.
So they escape, and then they are sitting on the subway, which I'm pretty sure they were on the R train, which made me happy. It's always a train I always lived off of. And this for me was like maybe their best relationship beat that we had so far. I mean, granted, then we get the scene with him talking to his son, which was like a continuation. But like this was for me, he respects her, she respects him, and this felt like their comic book dynamic almost, where it's like they are equals to each other.
I love just that shot of both of them just looking exhausted. I just love shots of superheroes looking exhausted. It's like my favorite part of the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies is just Simon Pegg like running and panting. Anytime they make Scotty run, I'm like, this is great. He's so tired. He's so tired.
Representation matters.
I also like that they're on the subway, right? Because we don't think of superheroes as like people who necessarily have to ride the subway. And the New York subway is just so recognizable too. So
and everyone on the subway is just like, oh fuck.
I know that's
they smell horrible. I'm going to the next
people with bows.
Don't miss my commute. I don't care what is happening topside.
It's like, are they gonna shoot some bows? I'm gonna turn my music up. So.
Essentially.
I've never seen Showtime involve bows and arrows before.
and I mean, Brett, you talked about this, but I really did like that like he doesn't hear her, and he says like how great of a like what is it, marksman,
archer?
I forget what the word, archer.
Yeah.
Duh, what are words? What a great archer she is, and like her little reaction of like she's so excited and she's realizing that he doesn't really hear her, but he said it anyway, and like I was even charmed by her being like, we should really feed the dog, and then ending with him saying we should really feed that dog, like
yeah.
because like also, I mean, Kim, you have 2 dogs, right? That's like you sometimes are like, oh crap, I need to do this thing for the dog.
Yes.
And I like the idea of like after a big fucking battle on a bridge, you're like, ooh, the dog, right?
We were just kidnapped and escaped, like
Right.
by the skin of our teeth.
But dog waits for nothing.
Right.
That dog doesn't know. That dog needs food no matter what.
So then we like, a thing that they did throughout this episode, I mean, you mentioned it, Cam, with the fight scenes too, is that they're continuing their conversation, but we're seeing them in different settings as they're continuing it. And I thought that was a very good way to show, like, yes, they are moving around New York. Like, they're in the cab. They're, you know, talking outside the woman's shop who's going to fix his hearing aid. Then they're in the diner.
At the apartment. And, like, there's a lot of different beats to that.
Yeah.
It keeps it fresh.
And we get that great scene between them where the son calls in the aunt's apartment next.
Yes.
I thought was just so good.
Let's talk about that scene. Preeti, how'd you feel about that scene?
I thought it was a good way to illustrate the building relationship between Kate and Clint. I thought it maybe highlighted that Clint needs to be a better dad. Like,
especially to his kids that just came back to life after being dead for 5 years.
Like, why don't you just, like, why can't you just be like, there's something wrong with my hearing aid, let's text?
Right, because they know it's not like it's like that's his secret identity. Like,
it felt like the
that was his youngest son, so I'm imagining probably like that he's like what 4 or 5.
He's like 5. It just felt a little weird that he was like, I was a text buddy. I was like, what? Just say it. Just say I can't hear you right now. Let's text. It just felt
hey kid, I can't hear you. Can go get mom.
Yeah, like go get mom. It just felt a little strange to me. So like while I liked the sweetness of the moment between Kate and Clint, that beat fell a little flat for me on that end. I was like, what? Why though?
That's fair. I feel like they used this moment in a way too obvious way to like remind us that this is a Christmas special and he's got to make it home for Christmas.
Yeah.
But I think that the good relationship between he and Kate that we get maybe outweighed like the whole like, oh, just a reminder, this is a Christmas special in case the music didn't remind you.
Is this the most vulnerable that Kate has seen Clint so far?
I think so.
So, like, I mean, like, it's really like letting her like in, like really in, because I don't even know like if the Avengers, like, I don't know, they haven't really interacted with his kids that much.
I mean, they stayed
from, like,
there.
They stayed there, but like, you know, they were too busy chopping wood and recounting horrible hysterectomies.
If he needs to chop wood, I'm not going to be mad about it, okay?
Yeah.
If he wants to rip a log apart with his bare hands.
If Hulk and Black Widow can just go to separate ends of the house, that'd be fine.
I would also love for Chris Evans to be ripping apart logs on my front lawn with his bare hands.
What were we
it's okay.
about?
And Nick Fury just hanging out in the barn waiting, like, when are they going to get out here? I have to do a surprise reveal.
I need to be creepy and weird.
Fucking
I'm like, no, keep going. I'm on the porch. It's fine. Keep ripping those logs up. I'm good.
Everyone's just being creepy and weird watching Steve.
And then I did like, so after I did like that scene, and I do think again that felt like, I mean, I don't think we ever got that scene in the comics, but that did feel like their dynamic in the comics. Would you agree, Brett and Preeti?
Yeah, I mean, it's her like picking up after his mess and being like, okay, just let me, I'll write it down, like just
and like doing it without having to like think about, like she just like does it automatically. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's not, this is where it is. It's not her picking up after his mess. It's him picking up after her mess. Like the whole thing is him picking up after her mess. And I'm just, I like everybody. I like Haley Stanfield so much. And I'm very excited for Kate Bishop to be a part moving forward. So I'm looking forward. I feel like this is a series that's just going to get stronger every episode.
Yeah.
I would agree with that too.
And it's going to be really rad to watch her like teach I don't know. But God, what's her name? Chatel Gomez, who's playing Miss America. Like, I can't wait to see Kate Bishop soon be like the guys. I went through this already. To all the other little kids that are becoming Avengers right now.
Yes.
Although Miss America is going to be tripping through the multiverse with Doctor Strange and Wanda.
Right. So maybe she doesn't need. Yeah.
She's going to see some shit.
Yeah, and I feel like Kamala's going to have a very unique experience.
Yeah. Oh man.
So then we get the scene that I also liked was when they're sitting outside waiting for the woman to like come to her like office or whatever.
Her dragging him with like good thing they don't call you Hawkeye.
That made me laugh really hard.
Yeah, because that feels like when when your friend can make the joke and it's like because you're my friend, like that's like you're allowed to make this. You know what I mean? Like and I like seeing that kind of stuff. Like. I don't know. I thought that was a charming.
And then she starts harping on the branding again, or is that when they're in the restaurant, which is right after this?
It's in the restaurant, but I'm with you with the harping.
Yeah, I mean, I wondered if they're doing that to like maybe poke fun at the fact that this Hawkeye is totally different than the one that she interacts in the comics with. Just after hearing y'all talk about it.
I don't know.
Yeah, because the costume she suggests is honestly her being like, it's like wings. I was like, oh, is that what his mask is always supposed to have been? Or like hawk wings? So Kate Bishop, you taught me something, and that costume's been around for like 60 years.
Yeah. I will say that I'm getting a little tired of the bit of like, haha.
Agreed.
This is their comics costume.
Agreed.
Like, because I don't know if, Brett, we talked about this when we recorded the X-Men episode on the first movie. Like, I remember Adam Sass saying a lot of those movies were like afraid to be superhero movies back then. So like, there's like a zillion jokes of like, what am I supposed to wear? Yellow spandex? Haha, that's what they wear in the comics. And like,
But like for me, like I find it fine when the MCU does it because they still do so much ridiculous shit from the comics. Like there's a one-eyed dog in this show. There are a whole bunch of like tracksuit Russian in this show. We just had an entire fight scene at a KB Toys. So I'm still like, you could make fun of the patently ridiculous mask. Like that mask is just fundamentally silly. Because you're doing so much other just silly stuff. So, whereas the X-Men movies were like, no, we're wearing black leather. We're going to explain all their powers in detail.
We're going to show a bunch of Senate
hearings. Yeah. This is a universe that has a talking tree somewhere. So it's like, you guys are.
I think it's like fine to tease about the costume. I'm tired of the branding thing. Like they're like, Kate Bishop is young and thinks about branding, and I'm like, you are not like what?
She's one. Let me get you some Instagram deals.
Like, she's not. No.
But we know she's right because we've seen a promo still from like later in the season, and he's wearing that costume minus the mask.
Yeah,
I did not see that.
Yeah, all the like promo photos.
And it's just like that little like purple down arrow over like a black Under Armour looking thing.
Oh, that's
so
fine.
It's not even that special. It's kind of bland.
But I do like that was like because it's a fraction run. That's like the Hawkeye I associate with like my crush on Hawkeye.
That's great.
Oh, I will say issue number 3 is also the issue where Hawkeye's naked in bed and he jumps and he has the little Hawkeye mask covering his junk. And I was like, well, they didn't adapt that.
I'm saying, man, Jensen Ackles.
I am with you there. So yeah, she does she then looks at the dog. She like tries to tell him his name. Then they decide they're gonna go to her mother's apartment because she's afraid.
I loved in the cab what does she say? Like, no, like he gave me a butterscotch, then I tried to stab him in the face and he parried.
Yeah.
And I love that he's like, what, you tried to stab your mother's boyfriend in the face?
I love how she wasn't giving enough information there, you know what I mean? And so like if we hadn't just watched the past 2 episodes and we were in Hawkeye's sort of brain right there, we'd be like, what? Yeah. That was really well done.
It's very relatable. Like that's that moment where like you're having you're piecing everything together and you can't get out all the details quick enough.
Yeah.
So you're just like, oh, he gave me a butterscotch. The butterscotch.
I did like how tired Clint sounded. He's like, I don't know what that means.
It kind of was you telling a story, Kim.
Thank you, except for that. Thank you. We skipped the brief little scene back at the toy store when the Tracksuit Mafia has to leave.
Oh, right.
Important in there because it felt like, to me, there wasn't too many important things in there except that they were leaving.
Well, they had that conversation.
Maya's in charge,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like, so
she was
I think
a cousin, I guess.
Well, like that Kazi, whatever. So what I noticed from like looking at the end credits is one of the little boys from the karate class flashback is credited as little Kazi.
Oh.
And so I was like, oh, so like if you pay attention to the credits, which Disney Plus doesn't want you to, because when it shows you the list of actors is when it goes to that really small screen. And I like always get angry. But yeah, so like that establishes that like, no, this guy who's the only Tracksuit Mafia guy who knows ASL, like they've apparently probably been friends for 20 years.
Well, she calls him cousin.
Yeah. She calls him cousin.
Or he
says uncle.
Yeah, that's it.
He says uncle.
So I put down cousin.
Yeah, Kingpin's code.
Close enough.
Yeah. Well, it's I don't know, Kim. Did you have anything about? I don't even have a note on that scene.
Well, no, I mean just that I noticed that that other guy was family, so I imagined that he was also related to the big boss,
the big guy.
Yeah, I like that. I liked him even pointing out like, well, you need to talk to someone, and none of these people have bothered to learn ASL in the past 24 hours, which was an interesting. I don't know if it was, maybe it was intended this way. I'm just commenting on like. Yeah, all of these, they could learn to speak the language that their scary boss speaks.
Right.
It's like, maybe they should try to learn something.
That's asking a lot of the Tracksuit Mafia. I just want to
they're too busy hanging out on Ticketmaster trying to get the right price.
I think that scene to me very much said it was the beginning of her sort of fall from grace as the leader, honestly. Like it had, it's so weighted when she's like, who's in charge? Who's in charge? And it's like, all right, well, this is your hubris and it's going to get torn to shreds.
Yeah, because that guy in the comics is the clown who is a terrifying, like, emissary from hell who murders people. Like, he's just terrifying. And this guy's like he's a sweet. I mean, he's like, I don't know, he was fine. He's not.
Yeah. I think he's gonna double cross. I think he's gonna. Yeah, he's clearly angling. It feels like.
Ooh, I could get on board with that. I could see that. So they go to her mother's penthouse.
Well, first,
apartment.
I just want to point out they walk through the park, and I feel like this is where we get like Hawkeye opening up a little bit more. With her, because he gives her some information about the Tracksuit Mafia that she might not have known. Right. It's like finally, like she's asking a question, and he's not like, "Go home, kid." You know what I mean? So I thought that was really important. And then also that he kind of allows her to investigate this possible fiance murderer. Right? He's like, "Okay, well, these things might be connected." I felt like it was a little fast, just because the episode ended immediately, shortly after they get to the house. Because I was like, oh, okay, like back to the original storyline, like the reason that this all effing happened.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, I guess they had to remind us about Jack in this episode. So I thought we were going to get a lot more than we did actually get following when they do get to the, oh my God, that house in New York. It's beautiful.
Like $7 million. Oh,
and also like off of Grand Central too, because it was in just, her in the Bella, New York. God, yeah,
so expensive.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
Yeah. So this episode for me did end like Kim and I both when we were watching. We were like, oh wait, because the other ones felt like longer. This one felt shorter. And that was definitely the Ronin sword, right? That he like.
Yes, because he stole it in that first episode.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So like I am super fucking excited to see what in the hell they do with the Swordsman Hawkeye relationship, because the whole thing in the comics, the Swordsman is like basically his foster father who like taught him everything. And it's like Jeremy Renner is older than Tony Dalton. So they kind of can't do that. So I'm wondering like if he's even gonna know this guy. Like, yeah, I'm very excited to see what they're gonna establish there.
Yeah. Yeah. Preeti?
I think I agree with you that this episode ended very abruptly. I do think overall so far the show has like pacing issues. That's where where it's like slow and then everything happens all at once and it's slow and then all of a sudden done. But I don't know. I'm waiting for the stories to be integrated better, I guess.
Yes.
Because we're
and I thought we were going to get that at the end of this episode, and we didn't.
Because we're, like you said, halfway through this season now, and it's still like 2 separate threads. And I just need them to be like, I feel like this episode should have been maybe 5 minutes longer. We got like a little bit more of that scene to like pull some of that in, because it wasn't a big enough hook for me, quite honestly. Like, I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, like, it felt very like, I don't know if y'all have read the Da Vinci Code, and if not, don't. But it felt very Dan Brown to me, where it was like, we're going to end it right here because it's a cliffhanger.
But it's
and not necessarily a good cliffhanger,
right.
but a cliffhanger.
Agreed.
I was going to say something. I forget entirely.
It seems like Disney Plus should maybe... So I don't actually want Disney Plus to do this because it would kill me as a journalist that covers these shows. But like Hawkeye maybe could have been in all 6 episodes at once.
I agree.
Kind of thing. I would hate that. It would make my life hell. Because doing that when covering those Netflix shows was a
I'm sure.
God, 13 hours at once. Jesus Christ. But like this is like maybe we should have had like the first. Maybe it should have been the first 2. Then episodes 3 and 4 should have come out yesterday, because I bet 4 is going to really tie everything together, and that would have been a good companion piece to that. Or maybe it's a 3-hour movie.
That ruins the whole like it's gonna end right before Christmas thing.
Oh, I'm not going to get to cover the season finale.
Just hold on to it.
They're doing this to like, I mean, it's not 6 days before Christmas, but like, they chose the timing of the episodes based on, the holiday season really well. That actually reminds me of my question, if you don't mind. You said, Preeti, you said that it had pacing problems. And I feel like all of the Disney Plus TV shows have had pacing problems, except maybe WandaVision, because WandaVision was like based on the way that television was for certain decades. So it kind of avoided that. But like, I mean, Loki, come on. Like that was
No, I agree with you.
That's one of the things that they didn't, maybe they're just not good at this yet. They're used to movies.
You're not wrong. I agree. I think Loki and Captain whatever, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think both of those shows definitely did have pacing issues, and you're right. Like maybe they're just finding their way. Hawkeye feels unique to me though, in particular, because it just really, like some scenes, it really felt like they were like dragging to me in those first 2 episodes, to the point where I was like, just make it a movie. I would have enjoyed this so much as a movie.
And I think that like it's also because I do think that if they had released all of Captain what the name of that show, Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Why is it so
like again, like if they had released all of them at once, it's weird. Like I don't like the binge model. I like the weekly release, even just as a viewer. But it still is like like I think a lot of the pacing weirdness is forgiven when it is all at once.
I agree.
And you can just go to the next one. But I will say, none of these shows have gotten to the egregiousness of the Netflix Marvel shows, where it's like a 70-minute episode of Luke Cage, followed by a 65-minute episode of Luke Cage, and then a 80-minute, no, thank you. So, like, at least we aren't there yet. We aren't to like,
and I don't think we'll get there. Honestly, I
thank God.
Like,
they've learned.
They have. It's a different concept, right? It's a different conceit. They're pulling they're trying to pull what they did in the movies to TV, which Netflix was like, we're not doing that. From the get-go, Netflix was like, that is not our intent. That will never be our intent. TV is a different beast. I think we need a hybrid, though, of the two a little bit,
like there could be a happy medium, right?
Like a happy medium between the both.
That's why I liked What If so much, is because it was very concise, clear storytelling of like, here's a beginning, middle, end, and then the last 2 episodes, it tied a lot of the stuff
it was
together.
really smart. It was very, very smart.
That's why I am this is so beside the point, but like She-Hulk, give it to me right now. Like them being like, this is a 10-episode legal comedy, half-hour episodes, and I'm just like, finally, thank God, she might have a new case every week.
If Charlie, all I want is for Charlie Cox to show up in the She-Hulk show and go up against her in the courtroom. Like, give me that. I want it.
I'm so excited to see Tatiana Maslany and Mark Ruffalo in scenes together. I'm just, oh God,
The thing I want the most is Jester Jones to show up in that. I just feel like I want I just always want Jessica Jones.
I know, but don't you think my fear is that it can't be the Jessica Jones we had on Netflix. Like it literally Disney Plus, like I can't fathom Disney Plus being like, yes.
I think the way they would bring in Daredevil would be the same thing as Jessica Jones. They would have to leave out, like, Daredevil can't shove anyone's face through a pipe, the same way Jessica Jones can't curse. But, like, that's a way that I do trust Disney with Marvel stuff, is, like, I do trust them to be able to, like, those are the same characters, but we're, like, you know, kind of changing them.
U.S. Agent did decapitate a man with Captain America's shield. But so, like, it does feel like the initial thing when Disney Plus launched of, like, we're all gonna be PG. From the get-go, we were like, you know, a lot of the Marvel movies they're all PG-13. Some of them say shit. I think, do any of them say fuck? Maybe.
I feel like they do, but
so it's just like you can't fool me with, like, you're not gonna all of a sudden make all the TV and they haven't, like, they've been pretty adult. So I don't think they'll, like, I don't, and also it's really interesting to bring it back to the Beatles. How, like, if you watch Get Back, like, they curse not a lot, but, like, they say fuck, and the Beatles, like, fought for that. So I do think that Disney Plus is kind of, like, eased off of the, like, we're the family friendly streaming service.
That was awful.
All right, so what
Goofy's gonna get him some D.
Oh my god.
Oh jeez.
All right, what was your favorite scene, Brett?
I mean, is everyone just gonna say I'll say the car chase scene.
I was gonna say the car chase scene.
I mean, like,
we can all have the same thing.
Yeah,
it's
it's so undeniably great.
Pick a particular part of it.
I mean, God, all of it. So bad. No, I really did like. I mean, when he went in reverse, and was like, "This is gonna be a lot easier for facing the other way," and that was, like, just such a cool fucking moment. I love that.
Yeah. Preeti?
When the camera is doing that circle thing, and you're seeing sort of all angles of the car and what's happening in front of them and what's happening behind them, I thought that was awesome.
All right, Kim.
I liked all the trick arrows. They were all new to me, so it was lots of fun having no idea what they were going to be to discover what they were.
Didn't you want to touch that putty?
I did.
It looked like it smelled bad.
it smelled like gack.
Yeah, gack is what I'm thinking. Like, I'm imagining Hawkeye doing, like, an ASMR YouTube video where he's just like, I'm going to unbox my new arrows. Here's the putty one.
Yeah, I mean, it was my favorite scene as well, but I will say the Echo opening I thought was truly fantastic.
I mean, maybe I should just change it to Kingpin. Maybe that's my favorite scene.
I mean, I just think that they did something that they don't always achieve with, like, giving us a whole character and making us feel for that character in such a brand new character in such a, like, short amount of time.
Mm-hmm. And also immediately after she debuted.
Yeah.
Right,
because you first see her at the end of episode 2, and Marvel sometimes likes to make you wait. Well, Netflix was worse about that, of just like, we're going to make you wait 7 episodes to learn this person's name.
Yes, I hated that shit. But yeah, so what grade do we give the episode, Preeti?
Oh, I give it a B.
All right, Brett?
Has it B+? All
right, Kim?
I'm going to say A-.
Ooh, I'm gonna say A. I can't believe we all have different grades.
And all wrote.
It just kept going, getting higher too.
It was good to start with me.
Thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for listening. If you liked Slayerfest 98, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And if you want to support us on Patreon, you can find us there, where you get 4 to 5 bonus episodes a month, a monthly My Nudie Judy 6 Talk video series, and more. And the support is much appreciated. If you want to find us on social, we are at SlayerFestX98 on all social media platforms. I am Ian X Carlos on all social media platforms. Brett, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Brett White, and you can read all my Hawkeye coverage on Decider. Yeah, which is where I write about Hawkeye.
And Preeti, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on all of the socials, like Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, TikTok, at Run with Skizzers, Skizzers. You can buy my books at preetichhibber.com, and I would love it if you pre-ordered my Spider-Man book, Spider-Man Social Dilemma, which comes out in July of next year. It's super cute.
Yay.
And Jim, where can everyone find you?
I'm at KimberlyAnnSouthwick.com, and I'm on Twitter at KimAnnJoeSouth.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye.